I think it was this was a referendum on the war. It was it was almost all about the war. In fact, I think a lot of people who would normally vote Republican didn't vote Republican this way because they didn't like the way it was going.
Right.
I mean, and I tell this to people all the time. I mean, if you were in favor of the war 3 years ago, if you voted for George W. Bush, I mean, if you're a Republican, that's fine. But nevertheless, in 3 years and more than 2,000 deaths and all these casualties and all this terribleness that's happened,
right.
You cannot be as enthusiastic about it now as you were 3 years ago. No, but even the Bushes aren't that.
And the key thing is, you can't make the country force democracy on that country. Yes, it'd be nice to have democracy, but you cannot force a sovereign country and throw it in their face when all they know is dying for their country and shooting each other up, and they're martyrs. You can't force democracy. It's just,
Yeah, well, that's why, yeah.
Well, people are funny. If we didn't learn from Vietnam that we have no business going into another country and trying to force something upon them and take over, and that we can't win in another country, then how are we going to know in 2 or 3 or 4 years why, if people don't learn from history in the past, they're not going to learn from history just prior.
Right.
You know, sometimes it's like, wow, when it starts hitting your pocketbook and it starts costing you money, then people actually start thinking about the consequences of the actions. But beyond that, people don't learn from history. If we did, we wouldn't have war.
That's right.
That's right.
That's so true.
I think that was eloquently stated. Yeah, I mean, you learn from history. Let's do a close-up on Gigi here real fast. You got to do it, because that's the ratings. But see, that's it. Exactly right, because you base it upon history. History is taught us. History has taught us, and if we can't base it upon history or go upon what's happened in the past, and we make the same mistakes over and over again, we're doomed for failure. That's exactly right. I agree with that. What else can you say? Cameraman, speak your mind in the back. What's your take? I'm going to come and speak your mind.
I don't know.
You have no take on this?
I know nothing about Republicans.
Okay.
Yeah.
Democrats, Republicans? I mean, but what's your opinion upon the Iraq War? Do you think we should have gotten out of there, or do you believe that we should have stayed there?
No.
You have no take on it?
I mean, it's not wrong to come in, it's like you coming into another man's house.
Yeah.
Going to their refrigerator.
Exactly.
I don't find that right.
Right. Do you think that George W. Bush is a good president?
No.
Yes. Oh, you asking me?
No, I'm asking, do you think he is? No.
No.
Okay.
No, George W. Bush, there was a book just written about by Bob Woodward. And Bob Woodward, of course, the guy who pretty much through his actions as a reporter for the Washington Post, got Nixon to eventually resign. Bush wrote 2 books about him. They're pretty puff pieces. The new one is more critical of the Bushes. And he was debating. They were talking about it on some show with John Dean, and John Dean from Nixon said, someone asked, was Bush as bad as Nixon? He goes, Nixon, for all his faults, wouldn't have advocated torture.
And when you what? Okay.
Nixon, during the Vietnam War and all, never advocated torture and all that Abu Ghraib stuff and the Gitmo and all that other stuff is we really have a black mark against us around the world.
Right.
In fact, whoever becomes the next president in 2008, I think America's maybe take a little work, but we'll be back to be the shining country we used to be around the world. The last superpower that brings peace to the world. We're not right now with this awful country that people only know us for invading Iraq.
Well, you know that, I've told you this before in case you didn't know, my personal savior is William Jefferson Clinton. You know that, don't you?
Yeah.
My personal savior is William Jefferson Clinton. But seriously, under his presidency, we were under we as a nation, our economical structure was the best. And we didn't, even though there was a chance that Bill Clinton could have gotten bin Laden, he could have gotten. But the key thing, and I don't want to keep bringing this up again, the reason why Mr. Bush, Junior Bush, went after the wrong, individual because of Daddy Bush being attacked by, a death threat from Hussein. But it's common knowledge, Laura, to know that Hussein and bin Laden hated each other's guts. And it's common knowledge that there was a pact, business transactions between the Bush family and the Bin Laden family, not Bin Laden himself, but the family. They had investment in oil refineries and investments in other business strategies.
Well.
So that's already common knowledge. So you take that knowing that there was a pact between the Bush family and the Bin Laden family, and the only chartered plane that left during 9/11, the only plane that left during that time, was a chartered plane out of Texas to Afghanistan,
All right.
carrying the Bin Laden
All
family.
right, well, let me tell you something.
So,
I know what you're
that's
saying.
common knowledge.
I know what you're saying. Yeah, go ahead.
So in closing, you just look at it for what it is. I mean, so yes, I'd rather be told a fib about someone's sexual preference or giving head in the Oval White House, which is, never should have been a perjury issue, rather than making a pact with a terrorist.
Okay, well, you're right, and
That's right.
Actually the main problem in this country, as far as at the executive level, is our coziness with the Saudis. I mean, the Saudis, the 9/11 terrorists were all from Saudi Arabia. Bin Laden themselves from Saudi Arabia. We get our oil from Saudi Arabia. And yet we have almost a hands-off policy as far as any sort of, because we depend on them for oil.
Right.
The whole world, and yet, we go after the Iraqis, we go Iran, hopefully. Iran is having a lot of trouble. We go after everybody, Palestine, but go after Saudis, we have a hands-off policy towards them.
Right.
And because they're like our drug dealer, and the drug is oil.
Right. Well, it is what it is, but you get what it is. But finally, we made a statement. It was a statement that was made last Tuesday, and ironically, Virginia was the one to make the final cast. Virginia, ironically speaking, was the state to
Proud
make
of
the final
Virginia
cast.
today.
As shocking as this might sound, Virginia did it. But you see, it was something that should have been done, I think, 2 years ago.
It's being done now.
Should have been done 2 years ago, but yeah, it's done, and hopefully this will carry into 2008.
Yeah.
That's all we can hope for, basically. GorgeousGeorgeShow.net. Once again, GorgeousGeorgeShow.net. If you want to learn more about me, learn about what we've done, I know, we'll get to that in a moment. I know we got calls, and I know that's, so just hold on. So that's pretty much what it boils down to. That's what it works out. It pains me to do this. I hate to take these phone calls, but we're going to go ahead, entertain calls. Remember, my finger is on the button.